So it is Thursday night. Tomorrow's Friday. We're going to leave Port Washington. We've enjoyed Port Washington. Been here a little over 2 weeks in the New York area. You can see it's pretty calm this evening. So one of the things that we do when we're getting ready to make a passage, we got about a 300-mile, 2-day passage to Kittery Point, Maine. One of the things I do when I get ready to make a passage is I secure the dinghy a little extra better, extra well. And I use load straps, and you can see them attached there and in the stern. And I pass them underneath the boat and bring them up to the rear rail here, bow and stern. And that pulls the boat up against the davits, which I kind of pad with some towels in the stern and in the bow. And then as an extra message, I use the stern lift line and kind of attach it to the stern rail also. And I leave the stern line on the winch because that's the most weight. It's got the engine on it, and the engine is the heaviest part of the dinghy. So I want a little extra holding on the stern of the dinghy rather than just the clutches. The rope clutches work good, but there's a little extra precaution. And then I basically tie the bow line over to our port cleat, and I tie our stern line on the dinghy to the starboard cleat. We have up and down movement arrested with the load straps, and we have fore and aft movement arrested with the bow and stern lines. And then I put the engine up and lock it in place, and you can see that we've got clearance between the davit and the engine, and that's proven to be plenty of clearance with everything locked down the way it is. The key in my mind is to get the engine up above the bridge deck, which we have more than sufficient. The back of the engine is about 18 inches or more above the bottom of the bridge deck, because we, in heavy swells, will get waves coming off the bottom of that bridge deck and creating turbulence back here. So we don't want it to catch the engine on the dinghy. And this has proven to be pretty successful over a couple thousand miles of ocean cruising. And we go to this length because on one of our first ocean trips we almost lost our dinghy because all we had was a commercial load strap. Now we have the front, as you can see, it's bolted right to an eye in the structure of the dinghy, and then the rear lift is a Daima line attached to the two lifting points in the back. The commercial load straps really are not up to ocean passages, because what you have to be able to take is this dinghy full of water, because that can happen. We got boarded by a wave out in the Atlantic when we were in 30 to 40 knots of wind and 15 to 20 foot seas, and we actually had a wave break over the top of the dinghy into the cockpit and almost lost the dinghy. The front strap broke on the dinghy, and we were dragging it for a while till we got it back on board. So that was a learning lesson for us. Get the dinghy up and very secure. We are leaving New York City and headed up to Kittery, Maine. So we're heading out into Long Island Sound. There's Manhattan there, and one of the bridges, I can't remember the name of it, over here. And behind us is Port Washington we're leaving. Leaving Port Washington. We're going to be motoring for about 24 hours, maybe we'll be able to sail until we get through the Cape Cod Canal. And then we should have some good sailing, maybe even a little rough sailing. Stay tuned. So we were motoring all day up Long Island Sound. See the sun behind us. We're headed east towards the Cape Cod Canal. We have a little bit of wind, about 8 knots behind us. You can see the swell, boats moving, but not much, not enough wind to sail. We need to keep 5.5 knots going because we need to hit the canal at the right time for the current to be in our favor. So we're expecting to be in the canal around noon tomorrow, and we might get a little bit of adverse wind around midnight. We'll see. So we are entering the Cape Cod Canal, and this is a railroad bridge that we get to pass under. It's open right now. When it's closed, there's only about 40 feet of clearance. And we actually run into a couple of these railroad bridges. There's no schedule or trying to get them to open for you. Basically, come to them, and if they're open, you go through. And if they're not open, you wait. And in this case, it's open, so we can go on through. Should take us about 2 hours to go through the Cape Cod Canal. It's about 12 miles, and some will depend on how much current we get. It should be in our favor, though, because we have timed it so that the tides are working to create a current in our favor.
And here's Captain John. And the noise you're... Yeah, they're getting ready to lower the bridge for a train to come through. So we just made it underneath the bridge.
So we are on our second leg of our voyage from Port Washington, New York to Kittery, Maine. We had pretty much a overnight motor. At first the wind was too light from the rear, and then it was right on the nose, so we pretty much motored up and then motored through the Cape Cod Canal, which was important to catch the tide right, which their tide tables helped with that. So, and then now we're on the second leg from Cape Cod. We're passing through the bay outside of Boston, Massachusetts. So we've got about 70 miles left. The wind is supposed to fill in from the stern. Right now it's pretty light and off our starboard beam, not enough to sail yet, but we expect to get enough to sail and maybe a little more tonight. We will see. So we had a pretty good sail last night. The winds were 15 to 18, and angle was a little bit off for what we wanted, but you never get perfect wind. And now we're coming into Kittery, Maine here. You can see there's a lot of the lovely fishing floats. There's a lot of these fishing floats up here. I guess they're crab pots, or I'm not sure what they are, but we have to dodge them. During the evening when we were sailing, we were just like, well, I guess if there's some pots out there, they'll just have to get out of our way. We're not as worried about them when we're sailing because the prop's not spinning, so. But we probably could still snag one. It's a Sunday morning, and looks like there's someone coming out to have a little sailing time this morning up ahead. So after about a 50-hour motor and sail from Port Washington, New York on Long Island, we are in Kittery Point, Maine. This is as far north as we're going to get this season. We're going to be here for a couple weeks visiting some friends, checking out some of the scenery. We're hoping to see some fall foliage. You can see back in there that it is starting a little bit. So we just got here, so we don't really have any comments on Kittery. We got here in about 50 hours, but we could have got here quite a bit sooner. One of the things that's surprising about cruising lifestyle is it's not really about how fast you can motor or sail. It's usually all about timing. The timing in question this time was catching the tide right on the Cape Cod Canal, put us out into the Bay of, I guess it's Massachusetts, outside of Boston, in the afternoon with only 80 miles to go, so we kind of sailed slowly last night, even though we probably could have got here much quicker. Cruising's more about timing rather than just how fast you can go. So we're having kind of a annoying power issue. We're up here in not so sunny Maine. Matter of fact, it's raining right now. And it's been, overcast and cloudy, and so our solar performance is down, so we knew that, we were going to have to run our generator some up here. So we went to run the generator yesterday to top off the batteries, and the battery charger immediately went into absorption phase and really cut the amount of charge down to almost nothing fairly quickly. And so obviously we had a problem. I started looking at the battery bank, and one of my batteries was showing unknown for last charge, and also whether it was balanced. These lithium batteries from Victron are very smart. They've got the Bluetooth connection, which I like, but the BMS is seeing that battery as an unknown condition, and it's afraid to charge it, basically. And then the conundrum is, the only way to reset the battery is to give it a full charge. So I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. Now, the solar would take care of that because the solar charge controllers are not networked into the BMS, and so they're just working off of voltage. So if I had a nice sunny day or two, the solar controller, it would take the batteries up and charge them and equalize that battery, but that's but I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to rely on the solar chargers to take the batteries up to full today. They didn't make it yesterday, and they're not going to make it today. Right now we're getting about 0 solar output out of our 5 panels, and the day's going to stay about like this. So I'm going to have to figure out how to work around that battery and get the Quattro battery charger to engage. Have to get into the manuals. So I've diagnosed the problem with the battery, and basically to check it out I need to disconnect the offending battery, this communication loop with the battery management system, the servo, And of course, is it this battery up front that's the problem? No. It's the one way in the back that I can barely reach. So that'll be fun, but I need to basically take the battery out of communication with the BMS, and then that'll allow the Quattro to function properly and charge the battery and bring it up to a balanced state. So we will see if that all works. So we're coming into evening time here in Kittery, Maine. We're just barely over the state line. Portsmouth, New Hampshire is on the other side of the bay, which is about a 2.5 mile dinghy ride, which we've done in calm weather, and it's nice. Portsmouth's a cute little town. Kittery, not much here. Nice little anchorage, a lot of moorings. They've got a few guest moorings. Getting ready to throw some meat on the barbecue. And there's a anchorage over there. It's not real large. It looks large, but some of it gets pretty deep, like 50, 60 feet deep, pretty quick. So the area that's less than 20 feet is not super large, but it's a nice little protected anchorage over there. We're probably gonna go over there for a couple days before we leave, and kind of looking into the sun, but Portsmouth is over that direction. So our time here in Kittery, Maine is drawing to a close. You can see the trees are starting to turn color a little bit. Starting to get a little cool in the evening. It's been down in the 40s at night. So we've been having to run the generator in the morning and the evening to make the boat warm. Peak foliage is probably a week or two away. But there's some trees there looking pretty. A little breezy today, a little cool. It's only going to be about 55 today, so we are looking for a weather window to head south. You can't really see it, but there's quite a bit of wind out in the ocean right now. Waves are fairly high. So we're waiting for all that to come down. It's supposed to come down over the next day or two. And by, this is Monday, so Wednesday afternoon we're gonna head south. Start making our way towards St. Augustine, Florida, which is our destination. Put the boat up for a little while.